Sometimes I just forget that I'm watching a cartoon. Gumball pulls some creepy scenes and some scary episodes sometimes. And in this video, we're going to talk about these episodes. Subscribe and come on with me. Let's start with this one episode, which is not as scary as much as it is creepy. It's about Miss Simian. Miss Simian is a sad and depressed character. No one in the cartoon likes her. Oh, and she's misunderstood. Anyways, this one episode is about her smelly mouth that could kill, literally. Which is unrealistic because no one has such a smelly mouth. In this episode, things are really weird. Finn and Jake hired nursing clowns to help them with their injuries. The way they used was by kissing them, but Finn didn't like what they did, so he started hallucinating about clowns the entire episode. The Just One Bite episode subject was about the obsession that can't get you far in life. The episode is about Squidward trying a Krusty Krab burger for the first time, and then he gets an uncontrollable obsession with it as if it were drugs.
Just one. Then I'm off the stuff for good.
This supports the claim that the burgers contained some drugs, which explains why Bikini Bottom people love them so much. After debarking into Krusty Krab hysterically, he started eating the burgers to the point where he exploded and went to the hospital in the end. I don't want to exaggerate, but in this episode of Powerpuff Girls, which was a shock to me when I was little, the girls moved so fast that they were able to travel 50 years ahead into the future, only to discover that the world is destroyed. The professor has gone crazy, and all the city inhabitants, because they became zombies.
You weren't here to protect us.
Oh, and he tried to kill the girls, even the kids. SpongeBob the Splinter. The Splinter episode was violent. It started with SpongeBob falling onto the ground and then having a splinter stuck in his finger, showing good and realistic details of it. His red finger gave me shivers. At that moment, he didn't know how to take it out. Well, okay, the whole episode. So he went to Patrick to get help. Patrick used a hammer to get it out, but he couldn't, so SpongeBob's finger got infected and rotten. Mr. Krab then came to the rescue and easily picked the splinter out. This episode makes me curious about how the creator got the idea for it. This original Teen Titans episode is about obsession and how it could literally drive you crazy. Robin became obsessed with Slide and wanted to catch him so bad that he started seeing him everywhere, only to discover that it was all a hallucination at the end. It was so scary that I remembered it since I was little. This episode was creepy. It was about a blank-eyed girl that arrives at Finn and Jake's house. She looked like a ghost and was wearing a weird-looking dress, had long hair and pale skin. In the end, they discovered that the girls weren't actually ghosts because they took off their hair, their clothes, and even their skin, and looked like skinny, foggy creatures. In this episode, Squidward was greatly humiliated. He was in an accident with a cement truck and got stuck in the cement.
No, Smelly. Squidward doesn't like.
He then was chased and kept at the zoo as if he was an animal. The worst part here is that people made fun of him because he looked ugly. SpongeBob then tried to help him, but he made things worse because he took him to the forest and left him humiliated. One of the scariest Steven Universe episodes was when he started feeling like he was getting older, and he indeed started getting older, and at the end, he became an old man on the verge of dying. Until this scene.
Barnett, stop!
Seriously, if an old person saw this, what would their reaction be? Charlie's Halloween thing. We Bear Bears. In one episode, the three bears got puppets that looked like them. Puppets were alive, and they even tried to kill them with an axe, ripping their bodies into pieces. This episode had one of the strangest cartoon transformations. So, SpongeBob travels away and leaves Gary with Squidward, but he forgot to feed him, so Gary died of starvation. Squidward and SpongeBob then decided to take him to the doctor, and they get a needle that has Gary's vaccine. Squidward accidentally pokes SpongeBob with it though, and his eyes come out of their holes, and he starts turning into a snail and chasing Squidward until he becomes a snail as well.
Meow, 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 meow.
Meow, 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 meow.
One of the most popular memes came out of this episode, where SpongeBob and Squidward went to Random Land. In one of the scenes, Squidward opens up some portals where he sees himself in different worlds, but in scary forms. The episode was later edited by fans. This episode was pretty scary overall. I'm not a fan of this cartoon. I mean, trains talking is pretty childish, but there was this one episode when a train got lost and took a wrong turn because of the fog. At the end, he arrives at a train factory where they get melted. He then hears a scary voice from the train next to him.
Bye-bye, Stepney, said the diesel.
But just as it was about to grab hold of him, it stopped.
I assume to him that getting lost means dead, but I'm not quite sure. My Little Pony. This cartoon is bubbly and colorful, but there's this one creepy episode where Twilight loses control over herself and becomes obsessed only because of a letter that she can't write. By the end, she smiles like a psychopath. This thing happens very often in cartoons. In this world, there are plenty of torture methods, and this cartoon showed one of them, where the students have been punished by the school and were put in a hole in the ground. The first to get inside was TJ, and then later on he started hallucinating.
Play knick-knack on my shoe.
Then once out, he couldn't forget about it and finally went back inside. In this episode, Princess Bubblegum fell into a well that had a weird material in it and almost died. But they saved her and discovered a weird thing, that she was possessed with the Lich. She started acting scarily, then she turned into a monster. But they had to kill her, so she dies 3 times in one single episode. Fortunately, she went back to normal. One of the strangest episodes in SpongeBob is Squirrel's Jokes. The episode is about SpongeBob doing stand-up comedy. No one liked his jokes, so instead, he made fun of Sandy because she was able to make funny jokes.
Hey, why does it take more than one squirrel to change a light bulb?
Why?
Because they're so darn stupid.
To the point where everyone in Bikini Bottom started doing the same until Sandy becomes a stereotype of dumbness.
Hello, little critter. What's your name? Don't stand too close to a squirrel, Billy. You'll catch it stupid. Okay, Ma. Stupidity isn't a virus.
This episode is one of the weirdest Tom and Jerry episodes. Jerry literally killed Tom using a piano, and then he went to heaven. This episode was kind of scary because people are waiting in the queue to either go to heaven or hell, and there were little cats there too. If we're going to talk about scary things, we're definitely going to talk about Courage the Cowardly Dog, especially this episode. It started with scary voices in the house, then the house tried to attack Mariel, so Courage destroyed the house and went to the basement where they found a humanly looking creature that punished them later on.
By midnight, you either grow.
The background music and sound added great effect. Krabby Patty creature feature. In this episode, everyone in Bikini Bottom turned into zombies. Even Mr. Crab turned into what looks like a burger zombie. The episode first started with Sandy creating a new Krusty Burger that was eaten by all of Bikini Bottom's people. Bikini Bottom became a mess and got destroyed by the zombies. Even SpongeBob was almost eaten. The way they turned into zombies was weird. They didn't have to bite, but they had to feed the normal ones a part of their bodies. This idea is just disgusting. This cartoon is mostly scary, but there is this one episode where Seuss fell in love with a game character to the point where he thought it's real, so he became obsessed. The character was actually trying to control him, so when he let go of it, it continued following him. If you watched the episode, you would understand the darkness of it. Lemon Grab of Adventure Time is a psychopath and does the weirdest things, just like what happened here. He and his twin were playing with a lemon puppet until it broke. Lemon Grab's reaction was to literally eat the other one. One of the best and scariest Danny Phantom episodes were when he teleported into the future, where he discovered that he became a villain and that he killed all of his family and friends. The episode showed their scenes dying, and it was traumatizing for me as a kid. Have you seen this snail? This one SpongeBob episode is rather depressing when Gary left the house because SpongeBob wasn't feeding him. An old lady found him and took care of him at first, until Gary decided to go back to SpongeBob, where he discovered the old lady's scary secret. She was keeping old snail shells that she took care of before, but Gary managed to escape and get back to SpongeBob. The weird thing is that she most likely tortured the snails and ate them. And the same thing was about to happen to Gary. Okay, in one episode, Candace finally exposes her brothers, then their mother sends them to a rehabilitation school where they shave their hair and imprison them. It's here where the story takes a dark turn and the kids try to remove their memories.